Hey everybody, sorry about that. When my when I run out of RAM, it kind of shuts down on me. So this is the end of that story. So I called Ralphena up, and she started to cry, and she just said that the Lord had told her that she needed to talk to me, and that I was going to call her that day. So I call her up, and we decided we were going to get together, and she wanted to meet me at this restaurant called Papado. It's a Cajun restaurant in Houston. Really good restaurant. Really very good Cajun food. So me and my wife and Miss Ralphina and my son was there. My son at this time would have been, I want to say, 12 years old. And we go and we're sitting down and we're just talking. We're just making small talk. We're kind of talking about her ministry and what we're doing, and we're just talking back and forth. And she's facing me. Sorry, y'all, my eye itches. Something flew in my eye. I'm outside. You can hear all the wind and stuff. It's really nice out though. It's really, the temperature is great. Um, so she's sitting across from me. My son is sitting next to me. My wife is sitting. No, 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 no. My son was sitting next to Miss Ralphina, and my wife was sitting next to me like she always would. That makes more sense. And her back is to the parking lot. There's a parking lot behind her. Now, there's a lot of windows in this place, and we're sitting next to a window, so I can see out the window, and I can see out the window that's behind her into the parking lot behind her, and she's eating a bowl of soup. She's eating soup. And I notice, and it's weird that I notice it, but I notice a couple pull up in a car behind her. I saw it through the window. It came to my attention. And I saw a guy get out, and I saw him walk around and open the door for the woman. She gets out, and they start walking towards us. Now, Miss Ralphina can't see them because her back is to them. They're behind her. I'm looking through the window. Why I'm looking at this couple in the parking lot, I don't know. So as they're approaching, now they're coming down the sidewalk. They're probably 20 feet from us, and she's eating this bowl of soup, and she stops. First of all, she just stops. And she's got her face in the soup like this, and she's looking up, and she's looking with her eyes back and forth. And then she goes, like she smells something disgusting. She's got that look on her face like when you smell something really rotten. You pull the milk out of the refrigerator, and it's really old, and you're about to pour it, and you think, maybe I should test it. And you smell it, you're like, oh, she's doing that. And I look at her, I notice her, and my son too. My son was like looking at me, looking at her. We're all looking at her because she's acting unusual. And I said, what is it? She goes, witches. And we're like, what? What? She goes, witches. Now this couple is walking up. Now they're about 10 feet, maybe less from us. They're almost up to us even. They're still over her shoulder. She don't see him yet. And she's going. And then right as they get to the side of us, she looks, she turns her head, she goes, there they are, right there. And the couple, as they walked by, they stopped and looked at her. And they made eye contact with each other. She's staring at them, going like she smells something, and they're just looking at her. They're just looking at her. 5, 10 seconds go by, and they kind of like snap to, and they keep walking. And I said, you want to explain to me what that was? She goes, there's witches right there. Those two are witches. And I go, really? Now I know about Miss Ralphina because she's a very good friend of my pastor, Jim Scalise, and he's told me some stories about her. And one of the stories goes like this. When John Osteen, the Papa, Joel's father, John Osteen, who was an awesome man of God and laid down the word rock solid. This man could preach like nobody, man. He was awesome. When he got really old and there was an exorcist or something that needed to be done, and he didn't want to do it anymore because he was getting on in his age, he called Ralphena. Ralphina was the one he called, and she'd go in, and the problem would be resolved. That was Ralphina's thing. She was the exorcist. So I know this about her. So they're coming in behind me. The hostess stand is behind me. So now I'm intrigued. I want to know what the heck is going on. So I look at my wife, and we kind of like make this eye contact like, we got to check this out. So I take my seat, which I'm facing Ralphina. I got my back to the front door because I don't want to have my back to the front door anymore. I want to see what's going on. And I take my chair, I get up and I take my chair, I slide around next to Miss Ralphina, and Angela, my wife, turns her chair completely around. So we're all looking at the front door now. And they walk in and they stop at the hostess stand. And they're probably, I want to say, 30, 35 feet from us. This is a pretty good sized restaurant. And Ralphina is just, now she's ignoring her soup. She's just staring at them. And she's doing this. Like, I can smell you. And which was really weird. I got to tell you, man, even when I think about it today, it's like, wow. So I'm looking at her, I'm looking at them, I'm looking at her, I'm looking at them, I'm looking at her, I'm looking at them. And the hostess grabs a couple of menus and she says, follow me. And she turns and walks away. And they just stand there. They don't move. They're just standing there. And they're looking at Ralphina. And I'm looking at her and I'm looking at them. And they're just staring at each other. She's staring at them. They're staring at her. And they stood there. And then he says something to her. And she says something back. And they turned around and walked out. And as they walked down real slow, they just stared at Miss Ralphina. And she just stared at them the whole way. And she's going, like, I can smell you. It was hilarious, y'all. We were cracking up. When they got in their car and drove away, we were just like, what was that? She goes, witches, I can smell them. They smell like sulfur. Just thought I'd share that with y'all. That's a really cool story. That's a true story. That's the people that I hang out with. Ralphina and I are like best friends. We get together. We try to get together every Friday and just share stories and testimonies and build each other up. She's like the top of the food chain, and she doesn't have anybody, and everybody drains her and drains her and drains her. So when I meet with her, I just love on her, and I fill her up, and I pray over her, and I pray into her, and I speak life into her. One day we met a couple of months ago, and she had this ring, and it was this big, gorgeous ring. It was absolutely beautiful. And when I looked at it, my spirit said, danger, danger, danger. And I looked at her and I said, Ralphina, what's with the ring? And she goes, oh, isn't that beautiful? I've always wanted a ring like this. I was doing this service one day, and this woman just walked up and she just put it in my bra while I was praying for people. I was just praying for people. There were, what'd she say? There was like 30 people around her, and I'm laying hands on these people and those people. She goes, and this woman, she goes, I kind of saw out of the corner of my eye, but she kind of slid through the crowd and took it, and she put it in my bra. She goes, and I didn't even think twice about it till I got home, and then I realized I felt something when I was getting undressed. There it was. She goes, look at this ring. Well, it was shaped like the eye of Horus. It was the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. And I said, take it off your finger. And she looked at me puzzled. I said, take it off your finger. Because it went long ways on her finger. She didn't look at it like an eye. And she hands it to me. And I took it long ways, and I turned it sideways. And she goes, it's the eye of Horus. And I was like, yeah, hello. She goes, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? She goes, oh my gosh, ever since I've been wearing that, I've been sicker than a dog. She's had heart problems. She's had all kinds of problems. She's been in and out of the hospital. So she was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And that was, so the next time we met, I said, hey, what's the deal with the ring? She goes, so I took the ring to this jeweler, blah, blah, and I told him, make something out of it, because it had these ruby baguettes all around it, and this huge sapphire round sapphire in the middle, like an eye. It was gorgeous. I mean, and diamonds all in between that. This thing had to be 10 grand easy. Easy. The size of these baguettes, unbelievable. And the diamonds, unbelievable. So she said, I told him, make me something really nice out of it. The guy specializes in custom jewelry. And she said, I called him. Actually, it was like a month later when I met her. And it just dawned on me, I asked her about it. So she said the week later she called him. He's like, no, I can't figure out what to do with it yet. And she called him the next week, and he's like, Ralphina, I took it apart, but I don't know. There's something wrong with this ring. I don't know. He goes, normally my creative juices just flow, and I can make something. She's like, yeah, that's what you're known for. You're Mr. Creative. He goes, I don't know. Check with me next week. She called him the next week, and he goes, Ralphina, I don't know. There's something wrong with this ring. He goes, I got nothing. I got nothing. She goes, crush it. Have it destroyed. And she just had the ring destroyed, y'all. So anyways, I wanted to share that story with you. That was a really cool story. I love my friend, Miss Ralphina. Shout out to Miss Ralphina. Love you. Your friend. Your brother in Christ. Amen.